All right, example 5, we're going to determine positive and negative intervals. You've done this before. You could graph this, look for the x-intercepts, and give me the answer that way. Perfectly acceptable way to do this. But let's tie in what we've been doing. So these x-intercepts that we find, how can we use that to find our intervals? Well, in the last example, we already factored this, but we factored it with t. Remember when we factored it, it was x minus 3 and x plus 1. We set each one equal to 0. So x minus 3 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so my x-intercepts are -1 and 3. We also know that this parabola faces upwards with a minimum because the number in front, or what we call A, is positive. Now it's easy to identify that interval. So we're going to have a positive and negative. So positive is above the x-axis, above the x-axis. So that is negative infinity to -1 and 3 to infinity. Whereas negative is below the x-axis, and that happens between here, which happens to be from -1 to 3. So again, could I have just went straight to Desmos from the get-go? Yes, but we are learning more about why these things happen and how they tie together for positives and negatives. We could also do testing points. So think about a number line. Oops, I'm not trying to do that. I need a pen. What is happening? My pen doesn't want to work. Let's plug it back in here. But we could think about intervals. So if you're thinking about a number line, like the one in my room, like that type of number line, and we think about -1, and we think about 3 being the zeros, we could test points in each of the other areas. So I could test the number -2 here because it falls somewhere in that interval. I could test the number 0 because it falls in this interval. I could also test the number 4 because it falls in this interval. What do I mean by test it? So if I did -2 squared minus 2 times -2 minus 3. So again, I just picked a number that is less than -1 to plug in. Then what do I get? 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 2 is 6. Notice that's a positive number. And my pen is not wanting to work again. This is fun. So that is positive. Next, I'm going to plug in 0. That one's going to be really easy. Going back here. This one was 6. When I plug in 0, I get -3. When I plug in 4, speeding this up just a little bit, since I spent so much time with a broken pen. 4 squared is 16, minus 8 is 8, minus 3 is 5. Notice this is a positive, and I'm going to give up on this pen today. The first one is a positive, the second one is a negative, and the third one is a positive. Well, those are the exact same answers that we put looking at the graph. So You can do it algebraically or the graph. I still prefer the graph, but I like to show you that there is another way to do it.